This is a localized broadcast to all remaining camps. Welcome to Tales from the Wasteland. We don't have much time before the signal drops, so lock the doors, secure the feed by hitting like and subscribe, and let's begin. They told us the desert was empty. They told us that if the world ever ended, the scorching heat and the miles of barren wasteland would act as a natural shield. They were wrong. The sickness didn't care about the heat, and as it turns out, the dead don't need water. My name is Ethan. 2 days ago, I was a logistics coordinator. Today, I am a grave digger who hasn't buried a body yet. Right now, I am sitting in total darkness, buried 30 feet beneath the desert floor. The air tastes like copper, stale sweat, and old concrete. Beside me, the only light comes from the dim green glow of a battery-powered terminal. It's counting down. 47 hours, 42 minutes remaining. Turn that thing off. A voice hisses from the shadows. That's Marcus. He's a former structural engineer, the guy who actually helped build this off-grid stealth base for some paranoid billionaire who died in the first week of the outbreak. Marcus is pragmatic, cold, and currently holding a blood-stained crowbar like it's a newborn child. If I turn it off, we lose track of the solar cycle, Marcus, I whisper back, my voice cracking. We need to know when the sun sets. You know what happens out there when the temperature drops. I know exactly what happens, Marcus snaps, though he keeps his voice low. The infected stop sluggishly baking in the sun and start running. And right now our acoustic dampeners are running on a dying backup cell. Every word you speak vibrates through the ventilation shafts. From the far corner of the bunker, a soft sob breaks the silence. Hey, look at me. Breathe. Just breathe. That's Sarah. She's a field medic we pulled out of a burning evacuation vehicle on our way out of the civilized world. She's currently trying to soothe Toby, a 14-year-old boy we found hiding in an abandoned gas station 3 days ago. Toby hasn't spoken a single word since we found him. His knuckles are white, clutching a deflated backpack against his chest. We are a crew of 4, trapped in a reinforced concrete bunker hidden beneath a fake sand dune. No grid, no communications, no rescue coming. The world above us didn't just end, it dissolved into a screaming mass of teeth and torn flesh. To buy this bunker, the original owner spent millions of credits, back when the old government currency actually meant something. Now, the most valuable thing we own is a half-empty gallon of purified water and a bolt-action rifle with exactly 7 rounds left. All 4 of us freeze. Nobody breathes. Up above, past 30 feet of reinforced concrete and a layer of radar-absorbent camouflage, is the hatch. It's designed to look like a rusted piece of industrial waste, half buried in a ravine. Scritch, scritch. It's the sound of fingernails, or what's left of them, scraping against the heavy iron seal. Did you lock the tertiary pressure valve? I whisper to Marcus, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Marcus doesn't answer immediately. His eyes widen in the dim green light. He slowly looks down at his hands, then back up at me. Marcus, Sarah whispers, her voice laced with sudden panic. Tell me you engaged the deadbolt. I engaged the primary, Marcus mutters, his voice trembling for the first time. But the pneumatic pressure line was leaking. If the pressure drops below 10%, the seal automatically vents to prevent suffocation. It's an automated safety feature, built for a world that no longer exists, I say, pushing myself up from the concrete floor. The cold metal of the bolt-action rifle feels heavy in my hands. 7 rounds. Above us, the scraping stops. For a second, there is a beautiful, agonizing silence. Then a heavy, wet thud, like a sack of meat being dropped onto the hatch. Then another, and another. They aren't just wandering over us anymore. They know something is down here. The heat signature from our exhaust, or maybe the faint hum of the dying battery, has drawn them in. They're gathering, Toby suddenly whispers. It's the first time he's spoken in 72 hours. His voice is tiny, terrified, and hollow. The dry ones, they're standing on the door. Marcus grabs his crowbar. I chamber around into the rifle, the sharp click-clack echoing terrifyingly loud in the confined space. We have 47 hours until the automated extraction window opens at the secondary grid location, I tell the group, trying to sound like a leader, even though I'm terrified out of my mind. We don't survive by fighting. We survive by staying invisible. Turn off the terminal. Complete blackout. Now. Marcus hits the switch. The green light dies. Total, absolute darkness swallows us. And then from directly above our heads comes the long, low hiss of the pneumatic seal releasing. The hatch is unlocking. The darkness isn't just a lack of light anymore. It's a suffocating weight. When the pneumatic seal vents, the stale, metallic air of the bunker is instantly replaced by a wave of oppressive desert heat. It smells like baked earth, old gasoline, and something sickeningly sweet, the stench of rotting meat left to broil in a 110-degree sun. Above us, the hatch groans as it slides back. Marcus, I whisper, my voice barely a vibration in the dark. Where is the manual override? Don't move, Marcus breathes back. He's somewhere to my left, his boots shifting fractions of an inch against the gritty concrete floor. If you move, the acoustic sensors on the stairwell will catch the vibration. The dampeners are dead even. The whole shaft is in megaphone right now. Thump. A heavy, ungraceful weight lands on the top landing of the concrete stairwell, 30 feet above. Then another. They aren't making human sounds. There are no screams, no growls, just the wet, rhythmic clicking of teeth and the drag of a malformed limb across the metal grating. The desert has mummified them. Their skin is like cracked leather, their vocal cords dried to a crisp. They are the dry ones, as Toby called them. Silent, efficient, relentless. Sarah, I whisper into the void. Hold Toby. Don't let him make a sound. I feel a hand brush against my shoulder in the dark. It's cold, trembling, but firm. Sarah. She passes me from behind, moving toward Toby. I can hear the faint, frantic rustle of Toby's nylon backpack as she pulls him close, burying his face into her shoulder to muffle any accidental cry. Drag, step, drag, step. The footsteps are coming down the spiral staircase. The sound echoes off the curved concrete walls of the vertical shaft. One of them is definitely down, maybe two. I lift the rifle. My hands are slick with sweat, the metal grip sliding against my palms. I have no night vision, no flashlight. If I turn on a light, the glare will blind me before it blinds them, and it will draw every rotting thing for miles across the flat desert floor, straight to this open hole. Ethan, Marcus whispers, his lips practically pressed against my ear. The manual override lever is 3 paces to your right, behind the main electrical conduit. If you pull it, it triggers a manual pressure dump. It will slam the hatch shut, but it'll scream like a banshee when it does. Will it lock? It'll lock until the pressure equalizes again. Maybe an hour, maybe less. 47 hours left. We are bleeding time, and we haven't even survived the first afternoon. I take a slow, agonizing step to my right. My boot heel brushes against a stray shell casing on the floor. It rolls with a tiny metallic tink. The dragging stops. In the absolute blackness, I hear a sound that makes the hair on my arm stand up. It's the sound of a jaw unhinging, the dry, snapping sound of cartilage breaking as the creature opens its mouth as wide as it can, tasting the air currents. It smells the moisture of our breath. It smells our fear. Get down, I breathe. A sudden violent gust of wind howls down the hatch, and in that split second, the silhouette is framed against the faint twilight sky far above. It's standing right at the threshold of our living space. Its clothes are torn to ribbons, its frame impossibly thin, ribs protruding through leathery, sunburned skin. Its eyes are gone, replaced by hollow, shadowed sockets, but its head tilts directly toward me. It lunges. It doesn't scream. It just throws its weight forward with terrifying, unnatural speed. I don't aim. I can't. I just raise the rifle barrel toward the silhouette and pull the trigger. Blam! The muzzle flash is blinding. A violent burst of orange light that burns the image of the creature into my retinas for a fraction of a second. Shattered teeth, gray gums, and clawed fingers inches from my face. The concussive blast inside the small concrete room is deafening, leaving a high-pitched ringing in my ears. The creature collapses into me, its dead weight knocking me backward onto the hard floor. The stench is overwhelming, a physical force that makes me gag. It's thrashing, its broken limbs clawing at my chest, trying to find my throat. Get off him, Marcus roars. Through the ringing in my ears, I hear the solid, sickening crack of Marcus's crowbar meeting the creature's skull. Once, twice, the thrashing stops. The weight becomes entirely still, pinning my legs to the floor. "Ethan, the lever!" Sarah's voice pierces through the static in my head. Above us, from the open desert air, an answering chorus rises. The gunshot was a dinner bell. A low collective wail of dry, rattling throats begins to echo across the canyon outside. Dozens of them. They are running toward the sound. I scramble out from under the corpse, skinning my elbows on the rough concrete. I dive to the right, my hands frantically scraping against the wall until they hit the cold, greasy iron of the manual override lever. I throw my entire body weight onto it. The hatch vibrates violently. The sound cascades down the concrete shaft like thunder, but the lock holds. For now. I collapse against the wall, sliding down into a sitting position, clutching the rifle to my chest. 6 rounds left. We're sealed in, Marcus pants, his breath ragged in the dark. But they know we're here now. Every single one of them within 5 miles. Just heard that shot. A small, shaking hand touches my wet arm. "You're bleeding," Sarah says, her voice remarkably steady for a woman trapped in a concrete grave. She clicks on a tiny, heavily muffled penlight, shielding the beam with her fingers. The dim light reveals the horror of our situation, the shattered skull of the infected at our feet, Marcus covered in black fluid, and Toby, curled into a tight ball, staring at the ceiling with wide, unblinking eyes. "It's not my blood," I say, wiping the foul residue from my face. "It's theirs." I look up at the green terminal screen, which Marcus hastily switches back on. The numbers shift, casting a sickly tint over our small, terrified group. 47 hours, 15 minutes remaining. We survived the first breach, but we are officially pinned down. The battery is dying, and the desert above us is alive with the sound of the dead trying to dig their way in. The sound above us doesn't stop. It's a rhythmic, mindless scratching, like 1,000 fingernails raking across a chalkboard, punctuated by the occasional heavy thud of a body throwing itself against the iron hatch. They aren't trying to open it anymore. They are trying to wear it down. They are trying to wear us down. The penlight in Sarah's hand flickers once, twice, then dies. We are back to the sickly green glow of the terminal screen. "We have a problem," Marcus says. He's standing by the main power distribution board, his fingers tracing the overheating copper wires. The manual override slammed the hatch, yes, but the impact jarred the primary regulator. The solar batteries outside, they aren't feeding the bunker anymore. The connection is severed. "Meaning what exactly?" I ask, pushing myself up from the floor. My muscles are already stiffening from the adrenaline crash. "Meaning the terminal screen, the air scrubbers, the water filtration, it's all running on the internal emergency cell now," Marcus replies, his voice flat, drained of emotion. "We don't have 47 hours of power, Ethan. At this rate of consumption, the air scrubbers will fail in 12. After that, the carbon dioxide builds up. We'll go to sleep and never wake up." "Can we fix the connection?" Sarah asks. She's sitting on the floor next to Toby, gently wiping a streak of black fluid from the boy's forehead with a piece of sterile gauze. Marcus lets out a dry, humorless laugh. "Sure, if one of us wants to climb up that stairwell, pop the hatch, step out into a swarm of those skinwalkers, and spend 20 minutes soldering a junction box on the surface. Any volunteers?" Silence settles over the room. The reality of our situation is a physical weight, pressing down on our chests. We are buried alive, and our coffin is slowly running out of oxygen. "Toby, honey, shh," Sarah whispers, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. But Toby doesn't stop. His eyes are locked onto the ventilation grate near the ceiling. His small body is rigid. "They're thirsty," he murmurs, his voice devoid of inflections. They can hear the pipes. They know what's inside. I walk over to the ventilation shaft and press my ear against the cold steel. At first, I hear nothing but the rush of air. Then, I hear it. A wet, rattling breath, vibrating through the ductwork. "Marcus," I whisper, my heart skipping a beat. "Where does the intake pipe lead?" Marcus freezes. The air intake draws from the rocks on the eastern ridge. It's covered by a heavy steel mesh screen. Nothing bigger than a rat can get through. What about something that's rotting? Something that can break its own bones to fit into a tight space? I ask, the dread pooling deep in my stomach. As if on cue, a sharp scrape echoes from inside the ventilation duct. It's close, right above our heads. They're inside the walls, Sarah gasps, pulling Toby up and drawing him behind her. I raise the rifle again, 5 rounds left. I point the barrel directly at the slatted metal grate of the vent. The green light of the terminal reflects off the steel barrel. If I shoot into the duct, the ricochet could kill one of us, I say, my mind racing through options, each one worse than the last. Marcus, is there a way to isolate the ventilation sectors? Not from down here, Marcus says, his face pale as he scrambles toward a toolkit. He pulls out a heavy pipe wrench. The manual dampeners are located in the crawl space halfway up the maintenance ladder. But Ethan, if I close the dampeners, we cut off our air supply entirely. We accelerate the clock. We'll have 6 hours of air, not 12. 6 hours of clean air is better than 10 minutes with one of those things in the room, I snap. Go, fix the dampeners. Marcus, hurry, Sarah screams. Marcus dives toward the maintenance ladder, his boots clanging against the iron rungs as he climbs into the dark upper recesses of the bunker. The hand in the vent twists with sickening flexibility. I can hear the bones in the creature's wrists snapping, grinding against each other as it forces its arm deeper through the narrow opening, desperate to reach us. A spray of dried, powdery dirt and black dust rains down onto the floor. I step forward, planting my boot firmly on the concrete. I don't waste a bullet. I raise the stock of the rifle and smash it down onto the protruding hand with all the force I can muster. Crunch. The bones in the creature's hand shatter, but it doesn't pull back. It doesn't scream. The fingers continue to claw blindly at the air, trying to snag my jacket. It has no concept of pain. It only has hunger. From above, the sound of Marcus hammering on a rusted valve echoes through the walls. Thud, thud, clang. With a deafening schleck, the internal metal dampener inside the wall slams shut. The clawed hand is instantly severed, dropping to the bunker floor with a soft, hollow thud. The scraping inside the duct stops, muffled by a thick layer of solid steel. The air in the room instantly grows heavier, warmer. The hum of the ventilation fan dies out. Marcus climbs down the ladder, his forehead slick with sweat, his breathing heavy. He looks at the severed, dried hand twitching on the floor, then looks up at the terminal screen. The green numbers glow in the stifling dark. 46 hours, 52 minutes remaining. We are safe from the vents. But the air is officially ticking away, and the temperature is rising. We have just locked ourselves into a breathless tomb. The silence is thick now. Without the hum of the air scrubbers, every sound we make feels amplified, heavy, and dangerous. The temperature inside the bunker is climbing steadily, trapping the blistering desert heat that managed to seep in before the hatch slams shut. Sweat rolls down the bridge of my nose, dripping onto the stock of my rifle. 6 hours, Sarah whispers. She is sitting with her back against the cool concrete wall, her knees pulled tight to her chest. She's tracking the tiny, erratic movements of Toby's chest as he breathes. That's what you said, Marcus. 6 hours before the carbon dioxide poisons us. Marcus doesn't look up from the terminal. His fingers are caked in grease, frantically overriding a subroutine on the glowing green interface. If we sit perfectly still, if we don't panic, if our heart rates stay low, if we start screaming or pacing, cut that estimate in half. We can't just sit here and suffocate, I say, my voice a low, raspy growl. My throat feels like sandpaper. I look over at our supply pack, 1 half-empty gallon of water. We need to get to the surface. We need to clear that junction box and restore power to the scrubbers, or we're dead anyway. Clear the junction box? Marcus scoffs, finally turning his head. The green light makes his hollow eyes look skeletal. Ethan, did you hear them out there? There are dozens of them scraping at the metal right above our heads. The moment we crack that pressure seal, they will pour down the ladder like a flood. We have 5 rounds left in that gun. 5. You want to bet our lives on 5 bullets? I have my medical kit, Sarah interjects. her voice surprisingly firm. "I have 2 bottles of compressed rubbing alcohol and a flare kit in my bag. If we can channel them, if we can create a bottleneck in the stairwell, we might be able to burn them back long enough to let Marcus reach the wiring." "Burn them?" Marcus stands up, his voice rising in pitch. "In a closed concrete environment with no ventilation? Are you insane, Sarah? The smoke will asphyxiate us faster than the carbon dioxide." "Keep your voice down," I hiss, stepping between them. "Both of you, look at Toby." Toby hasn't moved. He is staring intently at the master breaker switch on the wall. His fingers are twitching in time with a new sound, a faint mechanical click, 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 coming from inside the electrical panel. Marcus frowns, his anger instantly melting into professional dread. He pushes past me and presses his ear to the metal casing of the main breaker. "No, no, 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 no," he mutters, his fingers flying to the latches of the panel. He throws it open. Inside, a row of heavy-duty relays are sparking, tiny white flashes illuminating his panicked face. The emergency cell is shorting out. The sudden shut-off of the ventilation dampeners caused a power surge. "What does that mean for us, Marcus?" I demand, gripping his shoulder. "The timer," he breathes, pointing a trembling finger at the terminal screen. The green digits, 46 hours, 38 minutes, begin to glitch. The numbers cycle wildly, spinning through random characters before flashing a bright, solid red error code, ERRSYS00. Suddenly, the green glow dies completely. The bunker plunges into an absolute pitch-black void. The faint hum of the computer terminal disappears. The only sound left is the frantic, terrified gasps of 4 people who realize they are suddenly completely blind. "Nobody move," I yell into the dark, my hands reaching out blindly until they strike the cold metal of the console. "Sarah, find the pen light. Tap it, shake it, do whatever you have to do." I'm trying," her voice cries out from the dark, followed by the frantic rustling of a canvas bag. Then a sound that makes my blood run cold. Clack. It's the distinct, heavy sound of the manual override lever being thrown back. Someone just unlocked the hatch. "Who did that?" I roar, lunging blindly toward the darkness where the lever was located. My shins slammed violently into a metal crate, sending me crashing to the floor. A tiny, pale beam of light finally cuts through the blackness. Sarah's penlight flickers back to life, its weak beam shaking violently. The light illuminates the far wall. The manual override lever has been pulled down to the open position. Standing right next to it is Toby. His face is completely blank, his arms hanging limply at his sides. "They told me to let the air in," Toby whispers, his eyes wide and vacant, staring up at the dark vertical shaft. "They said it's too hot down here." "Toby, what did you do?" Sarah screams, rushing forward and grabbing the boy, pulling him away from the lever. Marcus dives for the lever, grabbing the iron handle and throwing his weight against it to pull it back up. He pulls, his muscles straining, his face turning purple in the weak flashlight beam. "It's jammed," Marcus screams, panic completely taking over his voice. The power surge fried the magnetic lock while the teeth were disengaged. The hatch is wide open. They're coming down. From the top of the shaft, a chorus of dry, rattling shrieks breaks out into the desert night. The cold air rushes in, but with it comes the sound of dozens of mummified feet hitting the metal stairs. They are coming, and we are entirely out of places to hide. The time for stealth is over. The desert is pouring into our tomb. "Marcus, get behind me. Sarah, take Toby into the back supply alcove and hold that door," I yell, my voice cracking under the sheer weight of the adrenaline pumping through my veins. The weak, flickering beam of Sarah's penlight cuts through the darkness, illuminating the base of the spiral staircase. Dust, dry dirt, and the terrifying silhouettes of moving limbs dance in the pale light. "Ethan, I can't leave you," Sarah cries out, her hands gripping Toby's shoulders as she pulls the boy toward the narrow storage room at the very back of the bunker. "Go, that's an order," I roar. I drop to one knee, planting my boot firmly against the cold concrete floor, and bring the rifle stock hard against my shoulder. Through the dark, a shape detaches itself from the stairs. It's an infected woman, her clothes bleached white by the desert sun, her jaw hanging open at an unnatural angle. She doesn't feel the stairs bruising her feet. She only feels the pull of our heat, our blood. I line up the barrel with the center of the stairwell. Blam! The muzzle flash lights up the room like a lightning strike. The bullet tears through her chest. the kinetic force throwing her backward into the creatures rushing down behind her. A chaotic tangle of limbs and dried skin tumbles down the last few steps. 4 rounds left. Marcus, the flare, I shout. Now. Marcus is already moving. Through the smoky haze of the gunshot, I see him strike a highway safety flare against the rough concrete wall. A brilliant, violent crimson light erupts into the room, casting deep, blood-red shadows everywhere. The smoke smells sharply of sulfur, instantly stinging my eyes and throat. Throw it at the base of the stairs, I yell. Marcus launches the burning flare. It lands right at the bottom of the staircase, illuminating a horrific pile of twitching bodies trying to squeeze through the narrow doorway. There are at least 5 of them tangled together, their leathery skins smoking as they press against the intense heat of the chemical flame. They don't scream from the pain, they only hiss, their white, cloudy eyes reflecting the red fire. It's not stopping them, Marcus screams, his crowbar raised high as he steps up beside me. His face is drenched in sweat, illuminated like a demon in the crimson flare light. They're crawling over each other. He's right. A heavy-set infected male, his skin cracked and peeling like old parchment, uses the bodies of his fallen horde as a ramp. He tumbles over the burning flare, his clothes catching fire, and launches himself straight toward Marcus. Blam! I fire my second shot. The round catches the burning creature directly in the forehead. Its head snaps back, and it falls heavily to the floor, sliding across the concrete and leaving a trail of smoldering ash. 3 rounds left. They're coming through the sides. Sarah's voice screams from the back alcove. I glance back for a fraction of a second. The ventilation grate we closed in Chapter 3 is buckling again. The pressure from the creatures packed into the vertical intake shaft is too much. The metal screws are popping out like rivets on a sinking ship. Pop, pop. Marcus, hold the stairs, I yell, spinning around and sprinting toward the back of the bunker. Just as I reach the alcove, the ventilation grate bursts off the wall with a loud crash. A wave of black dust and a thin, impossibly contorted infected body slide out of the hole like a snake. It's a young girl, her limbs bent at angles that should be impossible, her fingers reduced to sharpened bone splinters. She locks her milky eyes onto Sarah, who is shielding Toby with her own body. The creature lunges. I dive forward. Using my rifle as a club, I smash the heavy wooden stock directly into the side of the creature's neck. Crunch. The impact sends her crashing into the electrical console, sparking a new wave of white electrical arcs from the fried circuitry. She thrashes wildly on the floor, her broken limbs flailing. I don't hesitate. I reverse the rifle, press the muzzle against the back of her skull, and pull the trigger. 2 rounds left. The room is filling with thick, acrid smoke from the flare and the burning clothes of the dead. It's getting harder to breathe. My lungs burn with every gasp. "Ethan!" Marcus shouts from the front of the room. The stairs are clear for a second, but there's a massive cluster coming down from the surface. We have to seal it now, or we're completely overrun. "How?" I yell, dragging Sarah and Toby out of the smoky alcove. The lever is jammed. Marcus looks at the sparking, short-circuiting electrical panel, then looks back at the staircase. A look of grim determination settles over his face. The magnetic lock is jammed because it's receiving a residual trickle charge from the dead backup cell, Marcus says, his voice dropping to a terrifyingly calm whisper. If I manually cut the main copper bus bar inside the panel with the crowbar, it will break the circuit entirely. The backup cell will dump its remaining energy in one violent arc. The magnetic teeth will drop. "Marcus, if you jam a metal crowbar into a live bus bar, the electrical arc will blind you, or worse," Sarah yells, stepping forward. "If I don't do it, we die in 5 minutes anyway," Marcus replies. He looks at me, his eyes steady in the dying red glow of the flare. "Keep your eyes shut, Ethan. When the door drops, you've got to find a way to fix that junction box from the inside panel later. Take care of the kid." Before I can stop him, Marcus steps up to the open electrical panel. He grips the rubber-coated handle of his crowbar with both hands, rears back, and drives the metal tips straight into the heart of the sparking copper wires. "Close your eyes," I scream, throwing my arms over Sarah and Toby, pulling them down to the floor. The blast of light is so bright, it penetrates right through my closed eyelids, leaving a burning white streak in my vision. The smell of ozone and fried metal instantly fills the air. Then, absolute crushing silence. The scratching from above is suddenly distant again, muffled by 30 feet of earth and a securely locked iron hatch. The horde has been cut off. "Marcus," I call out into the pitch blackness, my hands groping along the floor. "Marcus, answer me!" A low, painful groan echoes from the direction of the electrical panel. I scramble forward until my hands find the fabric of his jacket. Marcus is lying on his back, his breathing ragged. I can feel the intense heat radiating from his clothes. Did it drop?" he whispers, his voice strained, choking on the smoke. "It dropped," I say, my hands finding his face. In the absolute dark, I can't see, but his skin feels blistered. "The hatch is locked, Marcus. You did it." "Good," he breathes, coughing weakly. "Because I can't see a thing, Ethan. My eyes, everything is just black." I sit there in the suffocating darkness of the sealed bunker, holding my breath, listening to the faint, furious digging of the dead on the outside of the steel walls. We survived the breach, but our engineer is blind. Our air is running out even faster now, and I have exactly 2 bullets left in my gun. The countdown in my head keeps ticking. 46 hours, 20 minutes remaining. The silence that follows an explosion is never truly silent. It rings, it vibrates in the marrow of your bones. In the complete absence of light, my other senses expand to fill the void. The air is thick, hot, and soupy, tasting heavily of burned plastic and copper. I can hear Sarah's ragged breathing a few feet away, the rustle of fabric as she checks over Toby, and beneath it all, the terrifyingly faint, rhythmic thud-thud-thud of Marcus's heart beating against his ribs. "Marcus, don't move. Just stay still," Sarah says, her voice remarkably tight, compressed into a professional whisper. I hear the zip of her medical kit. A match strikes, a sudden violent scrape, and a tiny, fragile yellow flame illuminates the bunker. The matchlight is weak, casting long, monstrous shadows against the concrete walls. Marcus is sitting up against the fried electrical panel. His face is blackened with soot, his eyebrows singed away. His eyes are open, but they are milky and unfocused, staring straight ahead into the fire. The skin around his hands is blistered, raw, and angry. "The arc flash burned his retinas," Sarah mutters, her fingers gently tilting Marcus's chin. I have sterile saline and burn cream, but without clean water to flush his eyes properly, I can't tell if the damage is permanent. "It doesn't matter," Marcus rasps, his voice a dry wheeze. He tries to pull his hands away, wincing in agony. "The eyes are done for now. Focus on the air. Ethan, the air." I look up at the ceiling. The smoke from the flare and the electrical fire is hanging in a thick gray cloud just 4 feet above our heads. It's descending. We are literally crouching beneath a ceiling of poison. The dampeners are shut and the main circuit is completely dead, I say, checking the rifle. 2 rounds left in the chamber. "Marcus, you said there was a way to bypass the main bus bar from the inside panel. Talk me through it." "You?" Marcus lets out a ragged, wet cough. "Ethan, you're a logistics guy. We deal with spreadsheets, not high-voltage relays. If you touch the wrong wire, the residual charge in the capacitor bank will blow your heart out through your spine." "Then you'd better be a damn good teacher," I say, crawling over the concrete until my knees press against the sharp edge of the shattered electrical box. "Sarah, hold the light right over his left shoulder," Marcus commands, his voice hardening into his old project manager tone. He can't see us, but he knows exactly where we are standing by the sound of our movements. "Ethan, put your hand inside the panel." Slowly. I reach out. My fingers brush against a tangle of melted insulation and jagged, sharp metal edges. The heat radiating from the copper wires is intense, like sticking my hand into a toaster. "I'm in," I whisper. "Good. Feel the left wall of the internal casing. There should be 3 thick braided cables running vertically. Those are the secondary feeds from the auxiliary battery room. Found them?" My fingers slide over the sticky, charred rubber of the cables. "Yeah, I feel them. The middle one is the positive lead. Do not touch it with your bare skin. Use the rubber-handled wire cutters from my belt toolkit." I reach down to Marcus's waist, unbuckling the heavy canvas pouch. and pulling out the insulated cutters. My hands are shaking so badly, the metal jaws of the tool chatter against each other. If I cut this, what happens? I ask. If the auxiliary batteries still have a charge, it'll spark, Marcus says softly. It'll arc, but it should pop the emergency breaker on the auxiliary line, routing the remaining power directly to the backup air scrubber in the floor. Not the main system, just the emergency intake. And if the auxiliary line is dead? Sarah asks, the match in her hand burning down close to her fingertips. Then we have about 2 hours of breathable air left before the carbon dioxide levels make us delirious, Marcus replies flatly. I position the cutters around the middle braided cable. The rubber grip feels slick with my own sweat. Do it, Ethan. Toby's voice cuts through the dark. He's sitting in the shadow of the alcove, his small knees tucked under his chin. His voice isn't scared anymore. It's entirely hollow, like he's already accepted whatever is coming. The dry ones are getting louder. They want us to go to sleep. I close my eyes, lean my head back away from the panel, and squeeze the handles of the cutters with everything I have. A shudder runs through the concrete beneath our feet. For a terrifying 3 seconds, nothing happens. Then a rattle vibrates through the iron floor grating. A stream of cool, fresh, though slightly dusty, air hits my ankles. It's working. The emergency scrubber has kicked on. The air, Sarah gasps, blowing out the match to save our supply. It's moving. Don't celebrate yet, Marcus warns, coughing heavily into his sleeve. The auxiliary line is a closed loop. It's a tiny battery. It'll run that single floor fan for maybe 12 hours, tops. We've bought ourselves a night, but we haven't solved the problem. I slide down the wall, letting the wire cutters drop from my numb fingers. I check the glowing hands of my mechanical wristwatch. 45 hours, 50 minutes remaining. We have air for 12 hours, 2 bullets, a blind engineer, a traumatized kid, and a mountain of mummified corpses sitting on the only door out of this place. We need to sleep, I announce to the darkness. We take shifts, 2 hours each. Sarah, you and Toby first. I'll watch the stairwell. Watch it with what, Ethan? Sarah asks softly from the dark. You can't see them. I don't need to see them, I say, chambering one of my last 2 rounds into the rifle. The click sounds like a final judgment. I just need to listen. Time loses its shape in the dark. Without the sun, without a glowing terminal screen, 45 hours feels like 45 years. The cool air from the floor vent keeps the carbon dioxide at bay, but it does nothing to clear the psychological weight pressing down on us. Sarah and Toby are asleep, or at least they are mimicking the heavy rhythmic breathing of the exhausted. Marcus rests a few feet away, his back propped against the dead console, his breathing shallow and punctuated by soft groans whenever he shifts his burned hands. I sit at the base of the stairs, the cold steel barrel of the rifle resting across my knees. My eyes are wide open, staring into a blackness so absolute it plays tricks on the mind. I start seeing shapes in the dark, swirling phantom lights, silhouettes of monsters that aren't there. Thud. My body jerks rigid. I grip the rifle stock. It wasn't a thud from the hatch above. It was closer. Internal. Ethan, a low whisper drifts from the darkness. Marcus, I ask, keeping my voice down to a bare vibration. You awake? I haven't slept since the old government collapsed, Ethan, Marcus mutters. I hear the dry rustle of his jacket as he leans his head back against the concrete. Can't sleep when you can't see the border between your eyes being open or closed. It's all the same horizon. Save your energy, Marcus. We've got a long way to go when the sun comes up. There is no long way to go, and you know it, he says, his voice dropping into a cold, clinical tone. Let's do the logistics, coordinator. That's your job, right? Look at the numbers. The auxiliary cell dies in less than 11 hours now. My eyes are useless. Toby is a liability. Sarah is a saint, but saints die first in a famine, and you have 2 bullets. I swallow hard, the dry skin of my throat clicking. We have the extraction window in 45 hours. We just have to hold out here. The extraction team isn't coming to this bunker, Ethan, Marcus says softly. The words feel like a physical blow to my chest. The billionaires who funded this grid, they didn't care about rescue. The secondary grid location is an automated drone pad 5 miles north across the salt flats. The extraction window is a single hard-coded satellite uplink. that commands a drone to drop a cargo container of supplies. If no one inputs the recovery code at the pad, the drone self-detonates to prevent the tech from falling into civilian hands. I freeze, my attention violently pulled from Marcus's words to the floorboards beneath my boots. Scratch. Click. Click. Marcus, I whisper, my blood running cold. The emergency scrubber. Where does it pull the air from? The secondary intake, Marcus says, his tone instantly shifting from defeat to sharp panic. It draws from the low-level drainage sump beneath the bunker floor. It's an underground overflow cistern that leads out to the dry wash half a mile away. Is there a mesh screen on that pipe? A long, agonizing silence fills the dark. Marcus, I hiss. The screen was made of heavy galvanized aluminum, Marcus whispers, his voice trembling. But the flash floods 3 seasons ago, they brought down a lot of debris. I never got to check if the structural integrity of the outer grate held. Skirt! The sound of metal buckling echoes directly from beneath the iron grating. It's right under us. Sarah, wake up, I yell, abandoning all pretense of stealth. A match violently strikes. Sarah's pale face appears in the flickering yellow light, her eyes wide with sleep-deprived terror. Beside her, Toby scrambles backward, his eyes fixed instantly on the floor. Right in the center of the room, one of the heavy iron floor grates moves. It lifts an inch, the rusty metal screaming as it grinds against the concrete frame. From the gap, a smell bursts into the room that makes the previous stench seem like perfume. It's the smell of stagnant water, rot, and bloated, decaying flesh. A hand forces its way out of the gap, but this isn't a dry one. This hand is slick, black, and dripping with wet mud and slime. It's a wet one, the infected that fell into the underground cisterns, preserved by the dark, damp subterranean tunnels. Its flesh is swollen, gray, and sloughing off the bone as its waterlogged fingers grip the edge of the floor panel. They're coming from the bottom, Sarah shrieks, dropping the match. The room drops back into pitch blackness, just as a heavy wet mass slams onto the floorboards. I can hear the creature sliding across the smooth concrete, its breath a fluid bubbling rattle, like a drowning man trying to scream underwater. I don't have a flare. I don't have a light. I aim the rifle downward toward the sound of the wet sloshing. My fingers are trembling so hard, I can barely find the trigger guard. One shot. If I miss, we are trapped in the dark with a monster we can't see, stepping on a floor that is suddenly opening up beneath our feet. Ethan, don't shoot blindly, Marcus roars from the dark. The auxiliary battery cables are right beneath that section of the floor. If you hit the line, you'll cut the fan and kill the remaining power instantly. The bubbling rattle is less than 3 feet from my boots. I can feel the spray of cold, stagnant water hitting the denim of my jeans. 45 hours, 42 minutes remaining, and the darkness is about to swallow us whole. In the blinding dark, I don't fire. I trust my hands instead. I reverse the rifle, driving the heavy steel barrel downward into the bubbling rattle. It sinks into something soft, cold, and wet. The creature lets out a horrific fluid choke as I throw my entire body weight into the strike, pinning it to the concrete floor by its throat. Sarah, the lighter, now! I scream, my muscles tearing as the waterlogged monster thrashes beneath my weapon, its slippery, sloughing hands clawing frantically at my boots. A sudden bright spark finally catches. The small, steady flame of a plastic lighter illuminates the night room. The wet one is bloated, its skin a translucent, sickly green-gray. Beyond it, the open floor hatch is a black maw, and I can already see the slick, muddy skull of a second creature rising from the depths of the sump. Marcus, I yell, keeping my weight on the first monster. We can't hold the bottom and the top. We have to abandon the bunker, now. Abandon it? Marcus shouts, his milky, sightless eyes tracking my voice. The sun is up out there, Ethan. It's midday. The heat will bake us, and the dry ones are waiting at the top of the stairs. If we stay, we are fish in a barrel. I throw my boot into the bloated creature's face, fracturing its jaw and breaking its hold on my leg. I spin toward the maintenance ladder. We go out the main hatch. Sarah, tie Toby to your waist. Marcus, grip my tactical vest. Do not let go. We don't crawl, we fly. The fear gives us a grotesque burst of energy. I lead the chain, my left hand gripping the rusted rungs of the vertical shaft, my right hand holding the rifle. Behind me, Marcus climbs by sheer feel, his blistered hands bleeding onto my boots. Behind him, Sarah pushes Toby upward, the plastic lighter held between her teeth like a glowing coal. We reach the top landing, 30 feet above the floor. The heavy iron hatch is right above my head, still jammed an inch open from the power surge. Marcus, the mechanical release pin on the outer hinge. I pant, my lungs screaming for oxygen in the rising heat of the upper shaft. How do we blow it from the inside? The red shear pin, Marcus gasped from below me, his breath ragged. Hit it with the butt of the gun. It'll drop the emergency counterweights. But Ethan, the moment that hatch flies open, the desert is going to blind you, and whatever is standing on top of it will drop right into your face. Everyone hold on, I yell. I reverse the rifle one last time, aiming the heavy wooden stock at the rusted red iron pin protruding from the casing. On the third strike, the pin shears in half. The world explodes into blinding, searing white. After 18 hours in pitch blackness, the desert sun feels like a physical punch to my eyes. I can't see. My retinas are burning. A desiccated, leathery body instantly tumbles through the opening, landing squarely on top of me. It's a dry one, its skin as hard as tree bark. It snaps its jagged, broken teeth inches from my throat. Blam! I fire my second-to-last bullet blindly into its chest. The concussive force blows it off the ladder and sends it hurtling 30 feet down into the dark bunker below, crushing the wet creatures trying to climb up behind us. I scramble out of the hole, dragging Marcus up by his collar, while Sarah and Toby claw their way onto the burning desert sand. I blink through the blinding glare, tears streaming down my face. The landscape is a vast, shimmering ocean of white sand and rusted rock, and scattered across the dunes, turning their hollow, sun-bleached faces toward the sound of my gunshot, are dozens of the dry dead. I look at my watch. The digital interface is dead, but the mechanical hands tell the grim story. 24 hours remaining. We have jumped out of the frying pan and straight into the white-hot fire of the desert wasteland. We have 24 hours to walk 5 miles across the salt flats to the extraction drone pad, and I have exactly 1 bullet left. We didn't run. You can't run through the salt flats. The ground beneath our boots is a brittle white crust that breaks with every step, sinking into a thick, black mud that tries to swallow your shoes. The sun is a blinding hammer, beating down on our heads at 115 degrees. My vision is still blurred from the bunker explosion, but what I can see is terrifying. The horizon is perfectly flat, a shimmering mirror of heat waves, and cutting through that mirror are dozens of moving silhouettes, the dry ones. They are scattered across the flats like dead trees, but they are all drifting toward us. Marcus is stumbling, his weight leaning heavily on my left shoulder. His eyes are bandaged with strips of Sarah's sterile gauze, now stained with sweat and yellow desert dust. How far, Ethan? Marcus rasps, his lips split and bleeding from dehydration. Tell me we're close. 2 miles. I lie. It's closer to 4. Beside me, Sarah is pulling Toby by the hand. Toby's head is down, his feet dragging, his deflated backpack scraping against the salt. Our water is entirely gone. We finished the last drop 2 hours ago. My tongue feels like a piece of dry leather in my mouth. Ethan, Sarah whispers, her voice barely carrying over the wind. She points to the north. Look, rising out of the shimmering heat waves is a white concrete monolithic structure, an automated drone pad built into a low rocky ridge, the secondary grid location. But right between us and that ridge is a depression in the earth, a dry riverbed, and packed inside that riverbed are at least 30 of the dry dead, huddled together to escape the direct sun. To get to the pad, we have to walk right past them. Complete silence. I whisper to the group. Step exactly where I step. If you break the salt crust too loudly, they'll wake up. We descend into the dry riverbed. The temperature drops slightly in the shadow of the clay banks, but the stench rises. It smells like an open grave that's been baking for months. On either side of us, the infected are standing perfectly still, their bodies mummified by the arid air. Their skin is stretched tight across their ribs, their eyes milky and sunken. They look like statues. But as we pass, I see their nostrils twitch. They can smell the moisture in our sweat. Crack. Toby's boot breaks through a hollow pocket of salt. A A female infected, her gray hair tangled with desert thorns, snaps her head toward us. Her jaw unhinges with a loud, sickening pop. She lets out a dry, rattling hiss that echoes down the canyon. Instantly, the statues come alive. "Run!" I roar, throwing all caution away. I grab Marcus by the vest, practically lifting him off his feet, and surge forward. Behind me, Sarah screams as a mummified hand snatches at the strap of Toby's backpack. Toby twists out of the straps, leaving the bag behind as we scramble up the far bank of the riverbed. The horde is behind us now, their dry, leathery limbs moving with terrifying, jerky speed. They don't tire, they don't feel the heat, they just hunt. We hit the concrete ramp of the drone pad just as the first of the creatures reaches the base of the ridge. In the center of the pad is a weather-beaten console with a flashing amber light. I slam Marcus against the console. "The recovery code, Marcus. What is it?" I scream, my lungs burning, my eyes scanning the perimeter. The dry dead are pouring up the ramp, their clawed fingers scratching at the concrete. "The keypad. Describe it to me." Marcus yells back, his sightless face turning wildly. It's a standard alphanumeric grid, 5 by 5. "Okay, hit the alpha modifier, then type Delta Echo 90 Sierra." My fingers fly across the sun-baked rubber keys. Beep, beep, beep. The terminal screen flashes bright blue. A mechanical voice emits from a hidden speaker. "Uplink established. Extraction drone inbound. Arrival in 60 seconds. Warning, perimeter breach detected. Clear the pad for automated landing." 60 seconds. I turn around. The first infected, the heavy-set male from the bunker, his skin scorched black from the flare, reaches the top of the ramp. He launches himself straight at Sarah. I step in front of her, raising the bolt-action rifle to my shoulder. My hands are perfectly steady now. The adrenaline has washed away the tremors. One bullet left. I don't aim for his chest. I aim right between his milky, unblinking eyes. Blam! The final round tears through his skull. He drops instantly, his momentum sliding his dead body right to my feet. The rifle is empty. It's nothing but a heavy piece of wood and steel now. And behind the fallen monster, 5 more are stepping onto the pad. "Get down!" I scream, throwing my body over Marcus, Sarah, and Toby. From the white-hot glare of the noon sun, a massive black quad-rotor cargo drone drops from the sky like a falling brick. It's sleek, military, and completely unmanned. As its landing gear strikes the concrete with a heavy thud, 2 automated turret pods beneath its wings spin around, locking onto the horde rushing the pad. A deafening hail of heavy-caliber gunfire erupts, tearing the dry dead into clouds of dust and bone fragments. The noise is absolute, a wall of sound that shakes the entire ridge. Within 10 seconds, the ramp is silent. Nothing is left moving. The central cargo bay of the drone hisses open, a ramp lowering to reveal a pressurized cabin filled with clean water rations, medical supplies, and 4 empty seats. The mechanical voice speaks again. "Welcome, passengers. Destination pre-programmed to Safe Zone Alpha. Please secure yourselves for immediate departure." I look at my watch one last time. The hands align perfectly with our arrival. 0 hours, 0 minutes remaining. I drop the empty rifle onto the bloody concrete of the pad. I help Marcus up, guiding his hands to the drone's interior railing, then push Toby and Sarah inside ahead of me. As I step into the cool, air-conditioned cabin of the drone, the doors begin to slide shut, sealing out the scorching heat, the smell of rot, and the endless, empty desert wasteland. We didn't just survive 48 hours, we beat the clock. I sink into the mesh seat, grab a plastic bottle of pure, clean water, and look out the reinforced glass window as the drone lifts off into the sky, leaving the dead world far below us. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to stay tuned for the next 48-hour survival simulation, and drop a comment below, letting us know what would you have done with that final bullet.